Today, we're going to pull the curtain back and talk about something no one ever wants to go through. And frankly, most people don't even want to talk about it. Cheating. It's the kind of emotional earthquake that can shake the very foundation of your self-worth and belief in love. And if you've ever been cheated on, you know just how deeply it cuts. The confusion, the heartbreak, the tidal wave of emotions, grief, disbelief, rage, and yes, embarrassment. Embarrassment is one of those hidden emotions people rarely talk about in these situations. It's the sense that somehow you caused it, that maybe if you were prettier, smarter, more adventurous, or somehow better, it wouldn't have happened. And let me tell you something that I need you to really take in. You are not to blame for someone else's choice to cheat. Their decision is theirs and theirs alone. Full stop. You can't control someone else's behavior, and cheating is a reflection of their character, not your value. I'm Mat Boggs, and I've had the honor of coaching hundreds of women around the world through some of the toughest moments in their love lives. Moments of betrayal, heartbreak, and loss of trust, but also moments of growth, breakthroughs, and transformation. As the head of the Love and Relationships Division of the Brave Thinking Institute, my mission is simple: to help you create and live a life and a love life that you absolutely love. Through these many conversations with clients, one theme has consistently emerged. After the pain has settled a bit, after we've started to pick up the pieces, I'll often ask, looking back, were there any signs? Any red flags before the cheating happened? And do you know what they almost always say? Yes, there were signs. Sometimes they were subtle, sometimes they were loud, but they were there. And that brings us to why we're here today. I want to empower you with knowledge, because when we can recognize patterns, when we can see the signs, we put the power back in our own hands. We can act before the damage is done, before we lose ourselves, before trust is completely eroded. So over the course of this expanded series, we're going to take a close look at 7 key signs that often show up before a man cheats. Now let me be very clear. If you see one of these signs, it doesn't necessarily mean your partner is cheating, but it does mean something may be off in the relationship. These signs are signals, alerts, and when a signal comes up, your job is to notice it, explore it, and have the courage to bring it up. Today, we're going to pull the curtain back and talk about something no one ever wants to go through. And frankly, most people don't even want to talk about it. Cheating. It's the kind of emotional earthquake that can shake the very foundation of your self-worth and belief in love. And if you've ever been cheated on, you know just how deeply it cuts. The confusion, the heartbreak, the tidal wave of emotions, grief, disbelief, rage, and yes, embarrassment. Embarrassment is one of those hidden emotions people rarely talk about in these situations. It's the sense that somehow you caused it, that maybe if you were prettier, smarter, more adventurous, or somehow better, it wouldn't have happened. And let me tell you something that I need you to really take in. You are not to blame for someone else's choice to cheat. Their decision is theirs and theirs alone. Full stop. You can't control someone else's behavior, and cheating is a reflection of their character, not your value. I'm Mat Boggs, and I've had the honor of coaching hundreds of women around the world through some of the toughest moments in their love lives. Moments of betrayal, heartbreak, and loss of trust, but also moments of growth, breakthroughs, and transformation. As the head of the Love and Relationships Division of the Brave Thinking Institute, my mission is simple: to help you create and live a life and a love life that you absolutely love. Through these many conversations with clients, one theme has consistently emerged. After the pain has settled a bit, after we've started to pick up the pieces, I'll often ask, looking back, were there any signs? Any red flags before the cheating happened? And do you know what they almost always say? Yes, there were signs. Sometimes they were subtle, sometimes they were loud, but they were there. And that brings us to why we're here today. I want to empower you with knowledge, because when we can recognize patterns, when we can see the signs, we put the power back in our own hands. We can act before the damage is done, before we lose ourselves, before trust is completely eroded. So over the course of this expanded series, we're going to take a close look at 7 key signs that often show up before a man cheats. Now let me be very clear. If you see one of these signs, it doesn't necessarily mean your partner is cheating, but it does mean something may be off in the relationship. These signs are signals, alerts, and when a signal comes up, your job is to notice it, explore it, and have the courage to bring it up. So let's dive into the first sign. Sign number 1, he picks unnecessary fights with you. Have you ever felt like you and your partner were getting along fine, and then suddenly, it seems like he's picking at you over the smallest things? Maybe it's how you folded the towels, or what you cooked for dinner, or the tone of your voice when you asked a question. Suddenly you're walking on eggshells. There's a constant tension, a frequent sense of defensiveness on both sides. This behavior often stems from something much deeper. And here's the psychological mechanism behind it. When someone is emotionally or physically stepping outside of the relationship, whether they're about to cheat or they've already started, they often experience guilt. That guilt is uncomfortable. It builds up. It festers. And the subconscious mind tries to find a way to release it or justify it. One way the brain does this is by trying to shift the blame onto you. If they can make you the bad guy, it becomes easier for them to excuse their behavior. She's always nagging. We fight all the time. She just doesn't get me anymore. Sound familiar? This isn't always a calculated thing. In fact, many people aren't even aware they're doing it. But that doesn't make the impact any less painful or the red flag any less important. So if you're noticing a sudden uptick in arguments, especially ones that seem to come out of nowhere, it's worth pausing and checking in. It's time to ask some real questions about where the two of you stand. The goal isn't to accuse, it's to understand. Is there stress he's under that you don't know about? Is he harboring resentment he hasn't talked about? Or is he creating a reason to disconnect? Sign number 2. He gets sketchy with his phone. This one's a classic for a reason. When someone has something to hide, their phone becomes like a private vault. If you notice your man suddenly getting real private about his phone, taking it with him everywhere, flipping it over when it's on the table, stepping out of the room to take calls, turning off notifications, that's a shift in behavior worth noting. Look, we all deserve privacy, but there's a difference between privacy and secrecy. Privacy is healthy. Secrecy is dangerous. When I was dating my wife, I remember one night we were cooking dinner and my phone dinged with a text. It was on the counter next to her. I said, "Hey babe, can you check who that's from and read it to me?" She looked stunned. "You sure you want me to look at your phone?" I laughed and said, "Yeah, of course." Why? Because I had nothing to hide. And in that moment, she realized how different that was from the guys she had dated before. Guys who clutched their phones like national security secrets. Guys who would turn their screens away or get defensive if she even glanced in their direction when a notification popped up. So if your man starts guarding his phone like it holds state secrets, that's a sign, not necessarily that he's cheating, but that something has shifted in the trust dynamic of your relationship. And again, the solution here isn't to start snooping. The solution is to have a direct, open, respectful conversation. Say something like, "Hey, I've noticed you've been really private with your phone lately, and I want to check in because it's feeling different than it used to. Can we talk about that? You deserve clarity." As we explored how unnecessary fights and sketchy phone behavior can often be early signs that something's off in a relationship, whether it leads to cheating or is simply the symptom of emotional distance. Now we're going to dive deeper into 2 more powerful signs that you should never ignore, especially when they affect intimacy and your sense of reality. Let's talk about the 3rd sign. Sign number 3. The intimacy has disappeared. Let's be real. Relationships ebb and flow. Life gets busy, stress gets in the way, and sometimes your sex life slows down. That's normal. But when the intimacy completely dries up, especially without a conversation about why, that's a red flag worth exploring. Sex is often a mirror of the emotional connection in a relationship. It's a physical expression of closeness, vulnerability, and desire. So when that expression vanishes, when you're sleeping in the same bed but might as well be miles apart, it signals a disconnect. Now this is nuanced. Sometimes the lack of sex has nothing to do with cheating. It could be medical, emotional stress, depression, or hormonal. Maybe he's dealing with something internal that he's too afraid or ashamed to talk about. But when this shift happens and there's a withdrawal from affection, less eye contact, fewer compliments, less physical closeness overall, it can signal that he's finding that connection somewhere else or has started to emotionally shut the relationship down. Even more telling is if you've brought it up, asked, "What's going on?" and he avoids the conversation, gets defensive or shrugs it off with, "I'm just tired," again and again, with no further engagement. Here's what to remember. Long periods of disconnection, particularly when he shows no interest in reigniting the intimacy or understanding your experience, are not just phases. They are signs. Your emotional and physical needs matter. If they're not being met, and the desire to meet them isn't even being discussed, that's a red flag. This is why it's so important to have courageous conversations. Not with blame, not with shame, but with honesty. Ask, "Hey, I've been feeling really disconnected from you lately. Can we talk about that?" This opens a door to either work together or realize that he may already be stepping outside the relationship in some form. Sign number 4, he starts to gaslight you. This one's insidious, and it can make you feel like you're losing your grip on reality. Gaslighting is when someone tries to manipulate you into doubting your memory, your instincts, or your judgment. It's one of the most toxic dynamics in a relationship, and it often comes into play when someone is trying to hide something. Let me give you an example. Let's say you notice your partner texting late at night. You ask him who he's talking to, and he says, "Wow, are you really that insecure? You've always been paranoid." Or you ask why he came home 2 hours later than expected, and he turns it around. "You're so controlling. I can't even have space without you grilling me." Sound familiar? He's not answering your question. He's flipping the situation, so that you feel like you're the one causing a problem. He's attacking your emotional reaction rather than acknowledging his behavior. That's gaslighting. Here's why this tactic is often used by people who are cheating. If they can get you to doubt yourself, you become less likely to pursue your instincts. You begin to think, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm just being jealous. And once you're second-guessing yourself, you're less likely to confront, ask questions, or dig deeper. It's a power move, and it's emotionally abusive. Here's the truth. Your intuition is valid. Your questions are valid. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. The mind might be tricked, but the body and heart know when the energy has shifted. Don't ignore that. If your partner constantly avoids accountability by turning things around on you, that's not just a red flag for cheating, it's a red flag for the health of the relationship overall. So what do? Start by grounding yourself in your own truth. Journal what you observe. Document what you feel. Talk to a trusted friend or therapist, someone outside the relationship, who can give you clarity. When you bring concerns to your partner, stick to what you're noticing. Say, "I've noticed that when I ask you questions about where you've been, or who you're talking to, I end up feeling like I'm being made wrong for caring. That doesn't feel good to me." If he genuinely cares about the relationship, he'll hear that and want to work through it. If he doesn't, and he continues to gaslight or deflect, then that tells you exactly where he stands. Moving into awareness and action. At this point, we've unpacked 4 of the 7 major signs that someone might be cheating, or at the very least, disengaging from the relationship in ways that need attention. To quickly recap, he picks unnecessary fights. Subconscious guilt creates conflict to justify distance. He gets secretive with his phone. Sudden changes in behavior around technology suggest hiding something. The intimacy disappears. Without connection, relationships suffer, and sometimes, people go outside to find it. He gaslights you, making you doubt yourself as a way to avoid responsibility and conceal behavior. If any of these resonate with you, take a breath. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're noticing a shift, and your heart is trying to get your attention. And remember, this isn't about blaming or labeling someone a villain without facts. This is about awareness, because awareness gives you choices. Do you open up a conversation? Do you set a boundary? Do you seek support or space? All of that becomes possible when you face what's really happening. We've talked about unnecessary fights, sketchy phone behavior, lost intimacy, and gaslighting, 4 significant signs that something might be wrong in a relationship. But we're not done yet. As we continue uncovering these red flags, I want to remind you, these aren't about accusing someone without reason. They're about waking up to your inner wisdom, learning how to interpret behavior, and giving yourself permission to act when something feels off. Trust is essential in love, but it shouldn't come at the cost of your clarity or self-respect. Let's keep going with the next major sign. Sign number 5. He's vague or mysterious about his time away from you. Let's say your guy goes out with his friends for the night. No big deal, right? You're supportive. You want him to enjoy himself. But when he comes back, something's different. You ask him how the night went, and all he says is, "It was fine." Nothing more. Maybe he even seems annoyed that you asked. And that's the key difference, the irritation. Let me break this down. When a man is in love, he wants to share his life with you. He wants to tell you about the random funny thing that happened at the bar, or how his buddy embarrassed himself doing karaoke, or what they talked about, even if he's naturally more quiet or reserved. If he's connected to you, he wants you to be part of his world. But when he starts getting vague, dodging your questions, offering zero details, acting like you're being nosy, just for asking, that's not just a personality trait. That's deflection. Now, let's not confuse this with someone needing space or decompressing after a long day. We're talking about a sudden shift. If he used to share and now he doesn't, or worse, he gets irritated when you ask, it could mean he's hiding something. Sometimes men in this situation aren't just hiding what they were doing. They're hiding who they were doing it with. Let's say you ask, "Where did you all eat?" And he responds, "Why do you need to know everything I do? Can I have a little privacy?" That level of defensiveness over a totally normal question, that's a red flag. Here's the thing, people who are being honest don't feel the need to get defensive. They might say, "Oh, I don't remember the name of the place, but it had great wings." They'll try to give you an answer. Defensiveness is usually a response to guilt. And yes, some people are just more private, but again, if this is a change in behavior, don't ignore it. If he used to be open and now he's mysteriously shutting down, it's time to ask why. Sign number 6. He talks casually about cheating on past partners. This one is easy to overlook, especially early in a relationship, when everything feels exciting and new. But if you listen closely to how someone talks about their past, it can tell you a lot about your future with them. Have you ever been with someone who casually mentioned cheating on an ex? Maybe they laughed about it or brushed it off like it was no big deal. Maybe they justified it with something like, "She was so controlling. I had to do something to get out." Or, "It was already over. I just didn't want to hurt her by ending it." Here's what's really happening. They're showing you who they are. Now, people can change, absolutely. But here's the problem. If someone is telling you these stories without a shred of remorse, if they talk about cheating like it's a normal thing, they're giving you a preview of how they might act again. In fact, for some men, these stories are a subtle disclaimer. It's almost like they're saying, "Look, I told you I've done this before. So if I do it again, you can't be that surprised." That's not a responsible, emotionally mature person. That's someone who hasn't taken full accountability for their past. Let me give you an example from a coaching session I had. A woman I worked with was dating a man who, on their 3rd date, shared that he had cheated on his last girlfriend. She brushed it off thinking, well, that was his last relationship. People grow. True, but he went on to tell her 2 more stories of cheating on different partners in different ways. Not once did he say he regretted it. She ignored the signs, and 6 months later, guess what happened? Yep, he cheated on her too. This isn't about judging people for their past. It's about listening carefully to how they carry their history. Do they own it? Do they show growth? Or do they normalize and minimize behavior that caused real pain to someone else? When someone brags about cheating, or tells those stories like they're entertaining, you should hit the pause button. Ask yourself if this is a man who takes commitment seriously. Because commitment is not just about words, it's about actions, patterns, and values. Sign number 7, your intuition tells you something is off. This is the most important sign of all. Your intuition, that quiet inner voice, that gut feeling, that sense that something isn't quite right. It is there for a reason. Let's be clear. Intuition isn't paranoia. It's not insecurity. And it's not drama. It's the subtle wisdom that lives inside you, shaped by your life experiences, your emotional intelligence, and your subconscious picking up on all the tiny things your conscious mind might overlook. Here's the challenge. Many of us are taught to ignore our intuition, to be cool, to not overthink it, to give people the benefit of the doubt over and over again. But if something feels off, it probably is. Maybe he says the right things, but his energy feels distant. Maybe his words say, "I love you," but his actions say, "I'm somewhere else." Maybe everything on the surface looks fine, but your body tenses when he walks into the room. That's your body talking to you. Don't ignore it. You don't need hard evidence to start a conversation. You don't need proof to say, "Hey, I've been feeling unsettled and I want to check in." You are allowed to honor your inner voice, because that voice is on your side. It wants you to thrive. It wants to protect you. If you do one thing after this series, let it be this. Start trusting yourself again. Your intuition is one of your greatest gifts. And when you listen to it, you'll be amazed at how many painful situations you'll avoid, because you honored what your soul already knew. So now we've covered all 7 signs. 1. He picks unnecessary fights. 2. He's sketchy with his phone. 3. Intimacy vanishes. 4. He gaslights you. 5. He's vague about his time away. 6. He tells stories about cheating in the past. 7. Your intuition tells you something is off. By now, you've seen the full picture. We've talked about the 7 most common signs that often show up before a man cheats. We've explored what those behaviors look like, why they happen, and how they feel in real life. From the picking of unnecessary fights, to the shift in phone behavior, to the chilling way intimacy just fades. And perhaps the most important part, we landed on the voice inside you, that intuitive whisper saying, something just isn't right. So here's the big question that so many people ask once they realize they are seeing the signs. What do I do now? Let's walk through that together, step by step, because knowing is power, but action is transformation. Step 1. Pause and center yourself. Before you jump into confrontation mode or start collecting evidence like a detective, take a moment to breathe. When you realize there might be betrayal, the instinct is to panic. Your nervous system floods with adrenaline. Your brain starts running worst-case scenarios. That's normal, but that's not the headspace to make your most empowered decisions from. Take a beat, grab a journal, go for a walk, do some breath work. Let the emotional wave pass through so you can begin to respond, not react. Ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling? What behaviors have changed? What patterns have I noticed over time? Getting grounded will help you move forward with clarity and strength instead of fear. Step 2, don't jump to accusations. Open a conversation. It's tempting to start with, "Are you cheating on me?" when you feel betrayed. But that kind of confrontation usually puts the other person on the defensive, even if they are guilty. Instead, approach the situation with curiosity and directness. Here's an example of how to start the conversation. "I've noticed some things have changed between us, and it's been weighing on me. I'm not here to accuse you, but I want to talk honestly about what's going on. Can we sit down and have a real conversation about how we're both feeling?" You're not letting them off the hook. You're just creating space for truth to enter the conversation, instead of triggering immediate resistance. Remember, the goal of this conversation is not just to get answers. It's to understand whether you both want the same thing moving forward, and whether the trust can be repaired. Step 3. Pay close attention to his response. How he reacts to this conversation says everything. Does he listen calmly and take accountability? Deflect or get angry? Turn it around and try to make you the issue? Lie and change his story under pressure? People tell the truth through more than just words. Watch his body language. Is he nervous but sincere? Defensive but open? Or is he shutting you out completely? If he admits to cheating, that's painful, but also gives you a clear path forward. If he denies it but the behavior doesn't change, you've still received your answer. He's not willing to be transparent, and you can't build trust on secrets. Either way, this conversation will shine a spotlight on what's really happening beneath the surface. Step 4. Set your standard, not just a boundary. People often talk about setting boundaries, but what you need here is more than a boundary. You need a standard. A boundary says, don't cross this line. A standard says, this is what I require in a relationship. So what are your standards? Do you require honesty, emotional intimacy, transparency around communication, faithfulness and mutual respect? Get crystal clear about what you need to feel safe, loved and whole in a relationship. And then hold that standard, not as a threat, but as a deep honoring of your worth. Let your partner know, I want a relationship where we're both fully in, where we're honest, open, and loyal. I'm not interested in anything less than that. If they're unwilling to rise to that level, it's not your job to lower the bar. It's your job to move on. Step 5. Decide, do you rebuild or release? This is the big choice. Can the relationship be repaired? That depends on 2 things. 1. Are both people truly committed to healing and rebuilding trust? 2. Is there actual change, not just promises or apologies? Some relationships can be repaired after betrayal, but only when there is complete honesty and full disclosure, accountability and remorse, therapy or counseling, individually or together, a long-term commitment to doing the work. If even one of those things is missing, the relationship will likely fall into a cycle of hurt and mistrust again. And if your partner gaslights, denies, or avoids accountability, that's your sign to release. It will be painful, but staying in a relationship where your gut is screaming, where love is full of confusion and fear, will cost you far more in the long run than walking away ever will. Step 6. Heal and rebuild your trust in yourself, whether you stay or go. The most important healing journey after betrayal isn't just about trusting your partner again. It's about trusting yourself again. Many people who've been cheated on say things like, how did I not see this coming? Why didn't I listen to my gut? Was I not enough? Let me say this clearly. You are enough. Cheating is never your fault. What you can do is learn from the experience. Reconnect with your intuition. Reclaim your voice and your emotional boundaries. Rebuild your sense of self. You are wiser now. You've seen the signs. You've found your strength. And as you heal, you'll find that the love you truly deserve is never built on lies, confusion, or betrayal. It's built on clarity, consistency, and care. Your epic love still awaits. I want to leave you with this. Betrayal may be part of your story, but it's not the end of it. You still get to have an epic love. You still get to feel safe, cherished, and adored. You still get to experience deep, joyful, soul-nourishing intimacy. But it starts with you, with the courage to walk away when you need to, with the strength to speak up when something feels wrong, with the commitment to never settle for less than you deserve. So take everything you've learned here and let it fuel your next chapter. Your intuition is powerful, your heart is resilient, and your love story is still unfolding. Here's to you, your healing, your growth, and your extraordinary future in love. Thank you so much for watching, reading, and doing the brave work. I appreciate you. Now I'd love to hear from you. What signs have you seen before someone cheated? Drop them in the comments below. Your story could help someone else recognize what they need to see and change their life. Until next time, stay strong and stay true. You are worthy of love you never have to doubt.